living legend. He was the face of the Olympics.
I was swimming against Michael Phelps. 13,998 people cheering for Michael Phelps, and my parents were cheering for me. A lot of things had to go right for my 2012 experience to happen. One of them was James Magnuson going so fast that the world was ready to give him the gold medal. But the race was insanely close, and I ended up beating James by 1/100th of a second.
7 is Brett Hayden. Too close to call right now as they come to the wall. Adrian with the goal for the U.S. by 1/100th of a second. Adrian did it! Amazing complete shot.
I'm so grateful for having so many supportive people around me allow me to go there, and I loved the grind. Waking up at 5:15 and going to practice was not an issue. I was excited to go see the people there, put in the work. Then you get a cancer diagnosis. Was it worth it?
You have 3 daughters. Would you let them follow this Olympic dream?
Oh my gosh, man, that is such a loaded question. And
This episode of the Ready State podcast is brought to you by Laird Superfood.
I am so stoked to talk about Laird. So first of all, Laird and Gabby are friends of ours. And so we were in the kitchen with all the weird baggy powders.
Yeah, when Laird was first testing this out and mixing
butter.
it up.
I ate some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is amazing is that you can take that cup of coffee, you can add some essential, great high quality fats, fuel, and some minerals, and you can make that cup of coffee better. It gets people off of half and half, super gnarly sugar. It's a great way to boost your coffee.
And if you haven't heard of them, Laird Hamilton is a legendary big wave surfer, and his wife, our friend Gabby Reese, is a legend in her own right, and a health and fitness leader, volleyball player. And what's cool is they have developed these amazing products built around clean, functional, real food ingredients.
Yeah, it's actual food.
And they also taste really good. We really look forward to adding our Laird Superfood creamer to our coffee in the morning.
I either drink, I don't drink cappuccinos. I drink black coffee, or if I want to fuel specifically, I'll use this. Do you remember that it's almost summertime? And do you remember the Laird Superfood icy that we made?
Oh yeah, we're going to start making that immediately.
Yeah, so just some espresso shots plus the Laird Superfood creamer with some blend. And I swear at 3 o'clock, it's a little late, 12 o'clock or pre-workout, it is the best thing.
It's such a tasty summer little pick-me-up. It's so good.
When I travel, I take his portable latte with me. It's all mixed in. It kills me to drink crap coffee on the road, so I don't.
Yeah.
I just get hot water and I mix this on the river.
We also take it on outdoor adventures. It's so good. And one of the other products that we're huge fans of are their daily greens. Look, we are always pro get your fruits and vegetables on board, 800 grams as often as you can. But sometimes we're busy, our life is crazy, we're traveling, and daily greens are this convenient, nutrient-dense blend of greens, fruits, adaptogens. It's good for immunity, energy, digestion. These are so tasty.
It's a liquid vitamin made with foods, which I think is so great.
Yeah, it's so good.
Obviously, they've been making coffee. Laird's obsessed with coffee. And if you're one of our friends, you have the DeLonghi virus, which means you learn from Laird that DeLonghi is the machine, then you learn from us, and that's the DeLonghi virus. Look, everyone, I cannot recommend, go to Laird Superfood and check it out. You'll find something that is good for you, from protein bars to their essential coffee
mushroom coffee, daily greens.
So check this out.
Enhance your coffee.
Go to lairdsuperfood.com/TRS and use code TRS20 for 20% off and free shipping. Have your life upgraded and changed today.
This episode is also brought to you by the World as You'll Know It podcast, and it's all about the forces shaping the future.
This season focuses on something we care a lot about around here, aging. And not just aging, but how science is now trying to cure it. Listen to this. Human beings are living longer than ever. Thanks to advances like vaccines, antibiotics, and clean water, we've added more than 30 years to the average lifespan in just over a century. That's more than we added in the previous 10,000 years.
And the progress keeps coming. We've seen big drops in mortality rates from major killers like heart disease and cancer. Now, researchers are asking, what if we could go beyond treating disease and actually slow or even reverse the aging process?
In this season of The World as You'll Know It, host and science journalist Carl Zimmer talks with some of the top minds in longevity research about what the future of aging might look like. Will breakthroughs add even more years to our lives? Can older brains be rewired to function like younger ones? And which of today's trending biohacks actually work?
It's a fascinating and super relevant listen, especially if you care about health span, not just lifespan.
The world as you'll know it, the future of aging, is available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Nathan, welcome to the Ready Stay podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to get into it all. But, I think here in Marin, you're a neighbor. In full disclosure, our families are even conjoined. Our daughter has worked with you. You are what's the right word? Living legend here in Marin.
He's a living legend.
Like you're an undercover superhero. You're like, who's that tall looking guy in the neighborhood? And you're like, oh, he was the face of the Olympics. And we are really thrilled to talk about some of your recent escapades. And also, I feel like now that you're running this incredible the swim program, Top 100, that we're going to get some perspective on what's it like to be at the top of the ladder and look backwards and say, oh, how do I develop another generation of kids? What would I change?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm developing my perspective every day.
In real time.
As we speak. Yes.
And as a parent of young kids too. There's no place to hide.
Yeah. You're getting it from all angles.
Okay.
It is,
So
yes.
what we want to do first, I think, is will you just give us a highlight of what you think the peak of your athletic career was? So just to frame this for everyone a little bit, because I know it feels like pedestrian for you and work for you, but for everyone else, I don't think they understand sort of what the apex of your swim experience was. Will you just give that to us?
Like maybe, are you asking like what a day in the life kind of thing?
No,
or
just sort of like what you felt like at the end of your career. What did you achieve? What did you accomplish?
Oh man.
If you had to give us, if you were you were your like old Jewish grandma bragging about yourself right now, what would you say?
Oh man. So the things that I'm most proud of were my consistency. And it's really interesting as I am developing this perspective, like through all the things that you had actually just mentioned, like it's a youth program or the Learn to Swim program or being a father. Like when I was in it, I was very one-dimensional. I didn't recognize that I was one-dimensional, but like it was just the incentive structure was such that I just needed to figure out how to swim fast. And then I sort of would try different things. And then whichever one made me swim the fastest, I would like continue down that path and develop that and develop that and develop that. So my consistency was something I'm very proud of. Took a lot of mental, emotional energy to be there, to be able to like perform day in, day out in practice, therefore being able to perform at the end of the year and do it year over year. I think I made the national team like 13 years, maybe 14. I'm not totally sure.
13 years or when you were 13?
Oh no, for 13 years.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I wasn't that fast when I was a little one. And yeah, it was an interesting career journey for me because it just like 2008 started as a youngin' at the Olympics and just experiencing what there was to experience, watching Michael do his thing, watching Natalie Coughlin do her thing. I was there with Dara Torres, like seeing all these incredible legends that I grew up watching and then taking that, figuring out what it is that like I could take from them, trying it, and then adding it to my toolbox.
That was Dara's last year, right?
Yeah.
When she
swam the 50.
She swam the 50.
Swam the 50, got
I remember
second.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back in time a little bit to just hear a little bit about your early swimming career. Like what drew you into swimming? What did you like about it? Were you always
Did you have a choice or
were
did it
you
become a
always
choice?
unicorn? Tell us a little bit about your early swim life.
So early swim life, no, there was no choice. It was a water safety thing. I was always going to do lessons. I was always going to get in. It was a cold pool, as many of us remember, like, oh, that was so cold. And then it was a thing that my brother and sister did. Sister is 8.5 years older. Brother was 6 years older. So by the time that like I was, 5 or 6, it was their sport already. Like they had kind of eliminated the other ones.
You were a swim family.
We were a swim family. I was at the pool a lot, and it was something that I was always going to do. So then I joined. I was always a little timid to join because it's a bunch of people I don't know in there. I was on the younger end of the group, so I was just maybe going to hang out with my mom while we waited for practice. But then I saw my best friend from first grade in there. And I was like, let's go. Let's jump in.
That's a really important piece. I just want to double click on that for a second because just already, you sort of, your family has decided that like we're swimming and we don't have enough resources to divide other sports.
Yep.
And your brother and sister are good swimmers.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this huge expectation. Interestingly enough, that a lot of times the best athlete, fastest athlete is the third or fourth born, right? You get to watch, you get to see.
Oh, yeah.
But also interesting that you were a cautious risk taker, and it wasn't until you wanted to play with a friend, because I think that gets lost sometimes, that it really is about fellowship, friendship, going with homies.
100%. And I think that like that is an aspect of sport that I developed like later, because I was lucky. I had coaches that were so good at fostering a love for the sport, making it fun. We did things now that an insurance company wouldn't cover in terms of general liability policies. We were playing water baseball. We were like doing sharks and minnows and all those fun things. And it was great. And then when the time came to get it more serious.
How old were you then?
I would say it was, so there was funny enough, there was another kind of story. When I was in 6th or 7th grade, I was at like the local championship meet and I was alone. And it was just me from the team. And I just did not like the experience. I wanted to go home. I was still like, I'd have to look up the results, but I was at least getting top 8, probably winning the age group championships, whatever. But like the entire time I wasn't having fun. And it was because my friends had moved to different sports, and my parents were smart enough to realize I needed to be in a group of kids who like I could be friends with and have friends at these meets and enjoy it, because that was like such a big aspect of my youth sports experience. And even like looking at my wedding photo, the only people that like it was family members or people I swam with that were my wedding party, right? And they're just the absolute best of friends. And I think someone recently was asking me about like, how you get through this mindset, or like and the way they were talking about it just like kind of had this air of like exhaustion about them because they were grinding it out in their own life. And like I grinded it out, but I was with my best friends. So like the grindiness didn't feel like so much of a grind because I was like, dude, this is going to suck. And they're like, yeah, this is going to suck. Let's go. Right. And
right, but you were doing it together. And so at that point, when you went to this meet alone and had this sort of not that positive experience, even though you're winning and doing well, did your parents like move you into a different club so that you could be with swimmers who are like more of your, is that how they manage that? Like put you into a club of swimmers of your caliber so that when you went on to the next level,
and
you
I have
weren't
to
alone.
just add the horror of seeing a young, talented superstar who's like, this is not really into this. I mean, the scrambling around of, oh my God, we're going to wreck
And then,
this
sorry,
thing.
this is like a 10-part question, but did you and or your parents or coaches know that like there was a there in terms of your swimming ability at this point? Like, were you aware? I mean, and or if you're winning some 6th grade races, are you kind of like, whatever, I'm in 6th grade? Like, when did that knowledge come to pass?
I really need to have a sit down with my parents to ask them these questions, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I haven't, usually because there's 9 grandchildren running around when we're at family gatherings. It's absolutely insane. We're like, you playing minute to win at games and smashing our faces in like, pie tins of whipped cream and things and, doing all that fun stuff. But it is, those are questions that they're so great to ask them. I need to actually do it. I will say that I do think because I had an older brother and sister who were like national level swimmers. They were good. My sister got recruited, went D1. It wasn't for her. Decided to go like back to a small school in Washington, NAIA, and did phenomenal.
Good for her.
Yes, and it all actually is kind of a big circle because it's because she had fun and had friends there.
Yeah.
And then my brother went Division I, and like I think people kind of saw my brother. He's 6'6". He's got a huge frame, very strong. He's got size 17 feet. So they kind of knew that I had some growing to do. I was just a little beanpole, and I was kind of I wasn't like a late bloomer. I wasn't one of those guys who shot up like 4 inches my sophomore year in college or anything. But it wasn't really until senior year or freshman year in college that I grew to my full height.
Oh, wow. I remember growing in college.
Yeah.
We all had growing pains.
Oh,
Like you remember that?
Yes.
That like your femurs would just start aching, and you're like, "What's going on? I'm in college.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be growing anymore."
And I need a ton of sleep.
Yeah.
I would it would be like 8:30 and I would be at dinner in the dining hall in the Commons and be like, I can't physically keep my eyes open. I need to go right now.
So to piggyback on what Juliet said, you're the third go round with your parents.
Yeah.
Do you think that they had learned some lessons? And that's my first question. And the second question is, did they have an athletic experience prior to having superstar children?
They didn't. No, really. My parents weren't big athletes. My competitiveness comes from somewhere. My parents don't display it overtly, but I'm sure it's deep in there somewhere in their brains. But yes, they definitely learned from the older two. And I do think that's why. And I mean, they put a lot of work into it to finding, I think they really did understand that the culture and the fit is so important. And like a culture of excellence that has to come from a coach. And we had that for some time, even in my small town of Bremerton. Unfortunately for us, he decided to move on. And that's when I had to start looking somewhere else, to a different place. We tried that team where I was the only one. That coach was saying and doing all the right things too. Like I still remember some technique advice he gave me, and he cared at that young of an age that young of an age of a swimmer to invest himself into me. But it was eventually commuting from Bremerton to Tacoma, which was a big thing at the time. I mean, it was a full hour of a commute.
And very early in this like swim craze, like for you to commute for an hour is a big deal.
7th grade.
Yeah, that was
7th grade. So they were
crazy.
committing to a long haul of that. I was lucky because I did have I had some people I could carpool with the first couple of years. But yeah, it was, man, like looking back on that, I'm like, holy crap. Like,
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Right. Well, now that you have kids, you're like, oh, okay. Would I drive my kid to Santa Rosa every night to swim or whatever? You can kind of look at the logistics.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Santa Rosa and like going through the Narrows kind of thing, because there was a bridge, and if there was traffic, it could take forever.
Yeah.
Did you feel like at that point, like is sport emerging into a vehicle to college and a vehicle to the Olympics? Are you early enough to sort of and savvy enough to see, hey, I think there might be a professional career here? Or are your parents protecting you and we're like, let's make sure you're just having fun and swimming?
I was,
Because it's easy to lose your mind early with
easy
talent.
to lose your mind early. That's a great point. There was never any pressure from my parents about that. There was never any talk about that, although I'm sure the coaches maybe spoke to them about it.
That's great.
I value that a lot. I don't think my parents were there at every meet, but they didn't know what my best times were. Like the best times are on, like the time that you're entered on is in the heat sheet, but it's not always your actual best time. And after a race, they'd be like, "Great job, you dropped a ton of time. That was amazing." And I was like, that wasn't my real best time. And like, it didn't hurt my feelings at the time. I was kind of happy about it. They just my parents really, I think, like went there and enjoyed the company of the other parents. And man, I have a lot of introspection about this, because there's like, when I think back to the kind of different, like I was in a perfect situation for myself because I was so competitive. Like really, I do think I was probably one of the easiest, but also a slightly difficult in different ways athlete to coach, because you just had to put me in a situation where I was able to compete, and I would ram my head against a wall until I found a way to win. And if that meant going to, we were doing 2 10,000 meter practices a day in the summers, living with my friends.
2 10,000 meter practices.
Yeah.
That's a lot of volume, everybody.
It's a lot of swimming.
It's a lot of swimming.
It's a lot
2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours at night. Occasionally we'd throw some extra in the middle. I mean, my coach was like an open water guy. Like he had attempted a 70-mile swim before.
And just so we're clear, you swam 20K. And what was your fastest event?
50 free, 100
Okay,
free.
just checking. Just checking. Just want to be super clear here.
Yeah. We were building the engine, and it was yeah, man. I mean, it was just having a culture where hard work and grit was a big piece of it, and really, like, to take your words, like the vehicle to take me where I wanted to go. And I saw it in other athletes that were older than me. And I laugh because I recently looked up my first nationals experience, just to kind of give you a little bit more of a picture of who I was as a kid.
And this is in like
When I was like 14.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was like 14, I rode my friend Ryan Verlotti. I rode his talent on a relay to the nationals. Our splits were like, he went like a 152 going for his Olympic trial cut, and then everyone went like 159s to go to the national cut. And we got there. It was great. It was in Maryland. I got to watch Michael Phelps at a national meet. I got to watch like American records get broken. It was really cool.
That's inspiring.
Very inspiring. I had to have a talking to by one of the older athletes who was amazing, such an incredible role model, such a hard worker, kind, polite, even sat an idiot 14-year-old down and like used kindness and empathy in her explanation of telling me why I shouldn't be staying up until 10 p.m. playing with a toy boat in in my hotel room bathtub and making so much noise because, you know, she was going for cuts at the meet and trying to impress college coaches. Like, I feel bad about that because I have been meaning to, and after this I will send her a message on Instagram or something apologizing for that again. But you know, I had a great time. It was awesome. In my experience through swimming.
So you mentioned that you're doing these long drives with your parents to and from practice, at least until maybe you got your own license or whatever. I don't know if they always drove.
They would still drive
always
me.
drove. Okay, yeah, it's too far to drive.
Because you could sleep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is kind of a thing that gets talked about a lot amongst athletes who've been very successful or not. And college coaches have talked about it. It's come up on Instagram quite a bit recently, the car ride experience for kids. Yeah. And a lot of kids report that they get in the car and it's like this really negative experience for them. Their parents are, you know, asking them why they didn't go faster, asking them too many questions about, you know, practice, coaching them when they have no business coaching their kids. And that the car ride ultimately becomes this thing that these youth athletes really dread. Yeah. And on the flip side, we've heard from a lot of athletes who've been very successful, like Steph Curry and many other athletes, where their parents would just like not say anything and not talk about the sport at all. Like, where did your parents land? Because you obviously spent a ton of time in the car with them. Where did your parents land on this spectrum?
It was the latter. It was we definitely didn't talk about swimming.
Do you think it helped that your parents weren't swimmers?
Yeah, I do, and I think it helped that they didn't. You know, I can see why in some worlds you feel like there's an obligation to engage in the sport if it wasn't your own, to create a connection. But there's a lot of different ways to connect. And I think reading maybe a book on just overall connection would be more efficacious to create that connection with your young person in your car versus the sport. And yeah, it was that. And I actually remember my dad is just one of those people. He was an engineer by trade, and then he moved into real estate, and it was just fun kind of asking him questions about how to do things in the world. And he would generally just kind of like using his little engineering brain, like kind of break it down into its component parts and be like, well, I wouldn't know this information, so I'd have to go to this person. I'd have to ask them for that information. Okay, now we have this piece. We have this piece. He just kind of break it down. And for me, I just kind of learn and listen to him talking about that stuff. And I thought that was
I see some
really cool.
parallels at like how you work to get better. You know, as a swimmer, like, you know, just you solve this one technical problem. The next thing, this is how I go fast.
Totally. I do think maybe that did kind of make its way into my subconscious of like trying to break it down into its like different components and working on every one of those individual things.
So I'd love to move on to your college experience because you swam at Cal. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
What was the recruiting process like for you? Why did you choose Cal? I mean, apart from the fact that it is one of the greatest college swim programs out there, but I know it sounds like you and your parents really cared actually a lot about like finding the right fit. And that just because Cal has produced, maybe the most Olympic swimmers or whatever, my guess is that may have been part of the decision, but there must have been more.
Not Texas, not Tennessee, not Indiana.
Yeah, what?
I was just in the Indiana, natatorium, and there, there's some legends on the wall in there.
Yeah.
Legends.
So what was that process like for you? Why did you choose Cal? And then what was swimming at Cal like compared to being a high school competitive swimmer? What's the difference? Like night and day?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Night and day. So the recruiting process, we were in this, I'll label it as kind of this horrible like generation of and I don't know if if this was ubiquitous or if it was maybe just my particular group or Washington State or something, but like in a way that like effort was kind of like, it wasn't cool to be a nerd back then in the mid 2000s. It was like it was cool to like not put in effort but still be good at something. But like I think I had my best friend to this day like didn't subscribe to that and like allowed himself to be a swim nerd, and like then I allowed myself to be a swim nerd, and then we started becoming like swim fans, and then we started following college swimming, even though like it wasn't televised, there wasn't like YouTubes of this or anything. We were just following the results and being big fans, and then through that we started buying I did have a Longhorn hat that I wore around for a little while, but I also went to Pac-10s to watch my brother who swam at who swam at University of Washington. That's when I saw people from Stanford, people from Cal, people from USC, and it was something about the Cal script that I liked. I liked that they had sprinters, and then the recruiting process that then was like totally different. I mean, it was. We had to wait till July 1st of the summer between junior and senior year. And then like you would get a phone call, and I literally had like a Nokia brick phone. I remember getting a voicemail from the coach at Cal, and I was like, yes, like sweet, they're interested. And then I looked at Cal, Auburn.
Bless their little hearts for spotting some talent, some nascent talent.
Yeah.
So I was looking at Cal, Auburn, Texas, and the University of Arizona. They were all like top 5 programs at the time. And I went on recruit trips to all of them. And, one of the guys at Texas just took me to the side, and I really appreciated this from a guy that like was recruiting me to Texas. He just said, hey, listen, man, you're looking at some great schools. You're looking at, some pretty decent academic schools too. Like, I would take a look around you whenever you go someplace and understand that like where you fit in, where you feel most comfortable, and where you see yourself, like who you see yourself becoming should be a big factor in this decision. And come like my recruit trip to Cal, I was just this was it, like it was this is an amazing combination of athletics, academics, success in the pool. And then also I grew up in the Seattle area, and then coming to the Bay Area is just like, I remember going to places like Arizona and Auburn and Texas and being like, this feels weird. Like the air tastes different. Like it was all humid. It felt like it was not home. It felt like it was a vacation. And when I came to Cal, it felt like home.
And I just want to shout out to all the Cal athletes like Juliet, who turns out they do a full-time sport at a very high level, and they go to Cal. And there's no extra bonus help because you're an athlete. Like when you go to some other schools will say, you have a light load, you're graduating, but you're not going to Cal. And it is definitely a different choice. And sometimes I see the athletes I work with regularly who are like struggle bus school, busting their butts. And they're like, man, it's so hard. I'm like, you chose to come to Cal. Like you could have gone to another place. And they're like, would not go anywhere else.
Yes, you have to embrace that suck.
It's real.
It is real. And it is real. And you're in a community of other people who feel the same way.
Work real hard.
And work real hard. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I was at Cal in the early 90s, so like 10 years before you, but there were no NC2A limits on training time. Did you have limits?
That's so funny you're saying this. We're having these discussions with the youth program right now. Yes, there were. The 20-hour limit was a thing.
Okay, yeah, we didn't have that, and so I always laugh because I'm like, we just had 2-a-days like all year. It was like year round, and I mean, we never counted the hours because it wasn't a thing, but I was just wondering if you guys actually, if that had been implemented by the time you got there.
It was implemented and it was loosely followed.
That's my guess. That was what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's very strictly followed these days.
Yeah, it is.
One of the things that it's fun. I'm on Cal campus all the time, and I see your face on the wall a lot. And one of the things that I know still persists is this need for high volume. That just like there's always sort of a scarcity mindset across that we're not training hard enough, we're not working hard enough, we're never fit enough. My understanding is that, and there's a rumor that you really like to feel fresh and springy and powerful, and that was a hallmark of your swimming. Is that true?
Yeah.
How did you manage that conversation of, I need to feel springy and powerful and fresh to compete and play well with the demands of potentially
maybe not needing to swim 10,000 meters twice a day?
Did you have that conversation? Because I think one of the things that I really love about that story is that I have an athlete who says, this is what I need to do to win, and you're winning. And you're putting your money where your mouth is, but you're also maybe having to craft or create your little bit of your own experience because you're like, if I'm not springy and fresh, I don't swim well. Is that right?
I appreciate your willingness to give me that credit. But I have to deflect that onto my coaches for being the excellent coaches that they are and were, to recognizing that in me and recognizing what happens to my body language and recognizing what happens to my swimming, what my stroke looks like. Like I bet there would be a direct correlation of like my words per minute when I'm talking to my friends with like how tired I am, like just beat down physiologically. And don't get me wrong, there's still tons of volume in there. There was a lot of volume. Yes, there was. And I think that they saw that, and they saw what would happen when they would give me some more of the quality, and they saw like my engagement piece from that quality too, just because it was fun, and I felt like I was getting better, so I'd really focus on it. And I kind of think that's how that came to be. The other thing I do wonder about, like, because my experience it's only my own. I've only experienced my career through my own body. I do think there was something about my physiology that did let me go to a place that I could perform when I was pretty tired, and then I would fall off the cliff pretty hardcore.
Yeah, sure.
And then once you fall off that cliff a couple times and your coach kind of realizes what your limits are, they're pretty protective of it because it takes quite a while to get back from it.
Yeah. And that's, it's difficult. I think one of the conversations we have across sport, and I'm talking about high-level professional sport, Premier Rugby, Premier Football, all the things that NFL that I'm currently kind of have my hands in, being able to understand an athlete's unique physiology, we have to get some amount of work done. And yet, how do I individualize this? And what are my KPIs for each athlete?
Totally.
We have a lot more data now, but it's very much the dark ages. What would you say to your college self? Like if you could go back and just change a few things. I mean, let's just say that you had some decent success with what worked for you. Certainly, you guys worked it out. You had brilliant coaching and a good athlete. But do you feel like there are some, knowing what you know now and a little bit of the advantage of hindsight, you're like, oh, I wish I could have that back. Like,
And
like
let me
Juliet,
give you one example.
Yeah.
When I was a rower at Cal, my diet was god awful. I look back and think like I could have been so much better. I was also rowing at Cal during like the fat-free diet craze. So we were like eating red vines.
Dude, you had mocha and a bagel.
And
It's fine.
we were eating a lot of bagels and like it just, I look back and I think, oh my God, we were fine and we could have been so much better. But
Right.
I don't know if it's diet or sleep or anything you look back on now where you're like, oh my God, you were obviously so successful, but what do you look back on now and you think, oh my God, we were in the dark ages? Or
Could
I
you have been faster?
Yeah. Could you have been better?
Yeah,
faster?
absolutely. I think mine would have been from a psychological perspective. I could have probably.
Cal did not have a performance psychologist when you were there. True?
That's a hard question to answer.
Okay, so because we have 4 now, and we did not always have, we might have had one.
I think there was someone with that job title, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that says a lot right there.
There, we were limited to how much we could be social, but I would say I probably was a little too social, on occasion. The diet part, I was pretty good about. What I will say is a guy like Ryan Murphy took it to the next level with how good he was and how prepared he was. I mean, the guy had his green smoothie packed, ready to go on ice for the moments that he was done with practice. I would wait until I got home. So I took an extra 30, 40 minutes to do that. But like, man, Ryan's really on point with that. The other thing is, I think
it's interesting. We're now literally seeing Tadej Pogačar drink. He's straddling the bike, and he hasn't even finished yet, and he's pulling the thing out of his ear, and he's starting to drink.
Love it.
That's how close we're trying to get some of this nutrition in, so we don't make these mistakes.
Totally. And then I think for me, one of the things I learned later on in my career is just how to kind of switch it off, go from sympathetic to parasympathetic. If I could have learned that a little earlier, I think I would have had a lot more success.
What would you have done differently? Tell me more about that, because that's really insightful.
I think just like so one of the things that we missed, one of the reasons I personally believe that like California suffered in terms of like its Olympic performance for 2021 is because we missed like the shower debrief after practice. And I think that's like a way to let practice go. Like you're done. That's it. It's over. What's done is done. On to the next thing. Move on to the next. Whereas it was like, okay, you guys are done. Hop out, change, get out of here as quickly as you can. Like there was no actual, just like deep breaths and like reliving it slightly, saying next time I'll do this. Okay, I'm walking out of here and I'm done. And I think I got more purposeful about that, especially at the end of my career, just like focusing on my breath and breathing and letting my heart rate come down and relaxing and getting into that state. The other thing I think that and swimming is fun right now because people are still going faster and just going faster and faster.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome.
It's bonkers.
Why do you think that is? It can't just be a suit. What is
Or
it?
a fast
We're
stool.
seeing right now in cycling, there's a revolution happening because they're eating carbohydrate.
Oh.
Where we're seeing a few kilos heavier.
Yeah.
But they're eating over 100 grams of carbohydrate an hour.
Wow.
And they have to eat in order to go that fast. And
Yeah.
to go faster, you have to eat more. And we're seeing that the rate limiter right now is how can you fuel this
I'd
thing?
heard about that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's interesting that has been the single breakthrough,
Right.
in all the tech.
Swimming, I personally think it's belief. I think that I believed I needed to go certain times and be certain amount of be fast enough to set an American record or go whatever time to win. And then just letting my body kind of solve that problem. I shouldn't say letting my body. I put all of myself into solving that problem. But because I believed it was only going that faster, I believed that humans were only capable of being that fast. It was kind of rate limiting in some ways. And now it's so much faster. And I don't know, looking back, if I was 17, 18, in high school, I think I would be I need to be this fast to be at a top level. I need to be this fast to get recruited to a top level. So then I would hold myself accountable and look my coach in the eye and say, hey, was that like, are we on track? And we could say yes or no. And my times would obviously have to be faster now in practice for them to look at me in the eye and say yes.
I love this question. I have a lot of friends who won world championships, were gold medalists, and they're like, I'm so glad that I don't have to compete in today's era. Not only because athletes are just so fast.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you weren't the fastest, but they're so fast. And number two, social media is we have Olympic bobsledder who's the best in the world. She's like, I was able to just go to the track and compete and do my thing, and I didn't have to post, and I didn't have to, yes, maybe these athletes make a little bit more money now or a lot more money, but they're under scrutiny and they have to be a personality. Do you feel like that is a factor that we have to talk about?
Oh, definitely a factor you have to talk about. Definitely a factor you have to talk about, and maybe even equip these athletes to manage and then also take advantage of. I would have been really out of my comfort zone if I had to do that or felt like I had to do that in my college career. And I would actually guess that my coaches would have advised me not to, just so I could focus on what I was doing in the pool. But yeah, that is definitely it's definitely a tool for some of these athletes to use. And I'm glad that they are able to use it.
So I'd love to turn a little bit to talk about your Olympics career.
Sure.
We'd be remiss to not really talk about the specifics here.
Yeah.
But, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your first experience. Like, how did you make a team?
Yeah.
What was it, a time? Was it an event? What events did you make? How old were you?
Okay.
What did all that look like?
And how did that change over going the course of 4 Olympics, I think?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Three. Just 3 Olympics. My bad.
That's a long story.
Yeah, because you were young. So, I mean,
I was young. So I chose to take the 2007, 2008 year off of school, take the Olympic waiver, go down to Florida, train with my coach. He was the Cal coach that recruited me there. And he went down to Florida to train Gary Hall Jr. And the race club down there. And that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, we have some kids turning pro right now playing water polo, and they're like, you don't have to go to school.
Yeah.
You can just do a sport. This is amazing.
Yes, exactly. And I got to live that life as a 18, 19-year-old who wasn't sure if I was ever going to make it to that level.
And had you already done 1 year as a freshman at Cal, like just
Exactly.
setting it up? Okay, so you've done 1 year, so it's technically like your sophomore year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wow.
Exactly. And then, so back then too, there was a, it's called World Aquatics now, but it was called FINA, the governing body of aquatics. And they had a world championships in like April or May or something of the Olympic year, which was just like,
Bad idea.
yes, bad idea. And
Two major peaks within like 3 months. It totally makes sense.
it made no sense. So I went to the World Championship trial short course, and I got beat by some guys you might recognize. One of them was Michael Phelps. The other guy was Jason Lezak.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A guy named Garrett Webergale beat me too. As they were all preparing for the Olympics, and I was like, oh, okay, sweet, that was cool. Getting beat by them, I still got to get a lot faster. But Garrett Webergale, Jason Lezak, and Michael Phelps, none of them wanted to go to World Short Course Championships because like it was way too close to Olympic trials. So my coach asked me, hey, you're invited to this. Would you like to go? And I said yes, because for me, it was an awesome experience. It was the first time I had ever earned the American flag cap with my name on it. It's the first time I was flying international on USA Swimming's dime, doing
What a
all
cool
these
experience
exactly
for an 18, 19-year-old kid.
Exactly.
From Bremerton.
From Bremerton, that's right. Yeah. And
My family's from Seattle and Redmond, so I know where Bremerton is.
yeah, it's just a little town across the water. And it was a great experience. And I ended up winning World Championship short course out of lane 8. And
Wow.
yeah,
And
Explain to
when you're
everyone what
saying
lane 8
what
means.
is- I'm sorry, what is short course? Is that
exactly.
the 50?
Exactly.
What is
So
this? What
great
is this
question.
event?
Thank you for asking that. So Olympics swam in a 50-meter course. So the Olympic races that you see on TV are swam in a 50-meter length pool. And the hierarchy of meets in terms of importance for a swimmer, Olympics, number 1 by far. Number 2 is long course world championships. Number 3, 4, 5 are a variety of different meets, European championships, Pan-Pacific championships, etc. They're all long course though. Way down there, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever it might be, is short course world championships. But it shares the name. And when you walk around as a 19-year-old, you feel like you're hot stuff because you are a short course world champion. And no one can take that away from you,
You
right?
swam in high school. High school's all 25 meters, right?
High school is all 25 yards.
25
this is
yards.
25 meters. So it's similar, but it's so subtle, the difference. But it's
real.
Crazy how much different you have to approach those races. The last 2-3 meters sneaks up on you real quick if you swim a 25-meter race like a 25-yard race. So I was walking into the 2008 Olympic trials thinking I was really like hot stuff. And my coach saw that. Again, I mean, I am so like fascinated by the psychological aspect of coaching now, because before I really thought it was
the thing, isn't it?
It's such a thing. It's such a thing. And my coaches were so good at it, and they never brought it up in the forefront. But like now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like,
Shout them out real quick. Who are
yeah, Dave Durden and Mike Bottom. Yeah,
There you go.
and even high school coach Jay Benner, all fantastic. They knew how to squeeze every last drop out of the metaphorical orange, right? and make me feel good about it. I mean, I'm just so blessed to have such great coaches. And they, he comes up to me and he's like, Nathan, like the heat sheet's up. Do you know who you're next to? And he's like, Michael Phelps. And I'm like, oh my God, Michael Phelps.
And this is at the
This is
2008
at
Olympic
2008
trials.
Olympic trials. Michael's only swimming prelims. Long story short, he got me all hyped up to try to beat Michael Phelps. I get crushed by Michael Phelps. I'm literally eating his bubbles by the end of that race, and I take a beating on the chin for that one. So I go from being hot shot to like world champion to getting crushed by Michael Phelps, and then semifinals comes along. So we go prelims, semis, and then finals. There's 3 races at the Olympic trials to make the Olympics. Semifinals comes along, and I'm next to one of my other heroes, a guy named Neil Walker, who had made the Olympics before. He was an amazing national team athlete. If I just beat Neil Walker at semifinals, like I will get into finals for sure. And we dive in and we swim our race. I do end up touching him out, but we look up on the scoreboard right away, and 1st through 8th scrolls by and my name isn't there. And then 9th through 16th scrolls by and my name's right there at the top at 9th. And I'm like, and I remember this, like thinking about this, actually, like kind of, I can feel the emotions too. Like we look at each other and we're like, oh, dang it.
We didn't make finals.
We didn't make it. Like that's it, like sure, we are qualified to swim the 50 free or other races, but at the 100 we knew was our best shot. So like the good
By the way,
athlete-
what was that time? Do you remember that time?
It was like a 48.8 or 48.9. Yeah. And like a good athlete, I got my protein in me, I got my carbs in me, and I was warming down, even though the 50 free was like 3, 4, 5 days away. And my coach comes to me and he's like, Nathan, like Ryan Lochte, who had also beat me, he's scratching out. And I'm like, yes, sweet, I'm in. I thought I made top 8 at the time. And then he looks at me, he's like, when do you want to do it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I had not actually gotten 9th. I had tied for 9th. So I actually had to swim a swim off. Just to put this into
my
context, this is Olympic trials. So in the prelims of Olympic trials, I was swimming against Michael Phelps. There's obviously very exciting. There's like 14,000 people cheering for you. Not me. 14,000 people.
You can ride those.
There was 13,998 people cheering for Michael Phelps, and my parents were cheering for me. And then at semifinals, obviously it was a semifinal swim, so there was fireworks. There was like a waterfall with lasers on it. It was very exciting, coming from fairly stale swimming pools in
Right,
my life.
right. With like some parents watching.
Yeah,
right. Some
exactly.
Fans. Yeah, that's really exciting.
And then the swim off, which happened at 9:00 at night, and had, my parents watching and his parents watching, and like 30 officials who like really just wanted to go home because they had donated like
And a swim
14 hours of their
it's just
time.
the
It's
two
just
of you.
the two of you.
Just the two of us. Yeah.
God.
Swimming off to get into that top 8 spot for the Olympic trials final. And swim the race. I end up getting my hand on the wall, beating him by a tiny bit. It was less than a tenth. So it's really like, oftentimes that's like, you can't see that with the human eye always. And then the next day comes and we swim finals.
And I
On the
just
next
want to
day.
say that you've also swum an entire additional race now
Yeah.
compared to all these people that, like it happens in rowing, right? In rowing, they have this repechage thing where if you don't make it, you have a chance to make it, but it just
Yeah.
means you've rowed an entire other race. So you've put in this whole other
And
effort.
I want to point out that
Totally.
something that you did, you're eating, you're preparing, even though you may not make it. We talk about this all the time with our athletes because I'm like, we can go to overtime. We might have to go double overtime, and you don't know what the next piece is, and you have to prepare for it, and you can't just ghost that window. I think that's so interesting that you did not sink yourself on that detail.
Yeah.
This episode of the Ready State podcast is brought to you by Momentous,
You know what we're going to talk about?
a celebration of flavors.
Oh my gosh. You've heard me drone on and on about protein. It's important. I bump up my total protein grams with it, and especially around exercise, because sometimes I don't want to eat like a meal afterwards. I've carved up, I've done my thing, but just smashing 40 grams of protein is so easy. I am hard on protein.
Yeah.
I literally, if you cannot put warm water in a shaker with protein and slug that, then that protein does not make the cut.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why we like Momentous protein
know,
so
it
much.
is-
It's just ultimately so tasty and so drinkable. And now they've come out with this amazing array of limited edition flavors. And let's just say that variety is the key to consistency. Because if you're getting bored with your traditional chocolate and vanilla protein powder, get ready.
Yeah, I think it speaks to my like Gen X ADD. Like I'm gonna go ahead and I need to be entertained a little bit. The other thing is these flavors are made with actual ingredients.
Yeah.
They're not like horrifically artificially flavored. And I have to tell you, strawberry protein has changed my life. You've heard that before.
Yeah, you love
But
it.
chocolate fudge, mint,
Spice chai.
I know. It's pretty
All
amazing.
4 of these flavors are so tasty, so good, made with all the same amazing quality Momentous ingredients.
NSF, we're going to hammer on that forever, which
Yeah.
means that what's in there is actually in there. NSF for sport means that you're not going to test positive
Right.
for sketchiness by drinking a protein shake, which
and-
actually happens.
And let's be real, some of these supplements, including protein, are not always cheap. And you want to make sure that what the label says it is.
Grass-fed whey protein isolate is the highest form. It's so tasty.
So easy to digest.
And I've talked about this in the past, but they add a digestive enzyme. So already it's pretty digestible. We have a lot of athletes at the university who don't even touch whey because they're so worried about it, have no problem with our whey. But then you add in this digestive enzyme, zero belly weirdness.
Yeah, make sure to get your hands on some of these limited edition flavors before it's gone.
Okay, so check this out. We've changed this a little bit. But if you go to livemomentous.com/TRS, you can use code TRS for 35% off your first subscription. Put the strawberry protein on subscription. You will not be sad. 35% off.
This episode of the Ready State podcast is brought to you by LMNT. And oh man, do we have a big announcement today.
You know that I'm a little obsessive.
Just a little bit.
Sometimes. If I'm all in on something,
You're
I'm
all in. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, LMNT just dropped lemonade.
Lemonade salt.
And what did Lisa call it? She's like, oh, it's country time. Like I drink it and I'm like, there's no way this is legal. There's no way this is good for me. There's no way that this just so tasty. I have found like I will never drink anything that's not lemonade flavored LMNT ever again. Like I will be purely LMNT lemonade from now on.
Well, I mean, I wish you could have seen when this box arrived at our house, because we were gifted a box and you came literally running into the house and you were like, look at this. And
I've been begging for this flavor
Yeah, we've been
forever.
begging for this flavor for a long time. We didn't even know it was coming. It just arrived at our front door and we are delighted, and it is so good.
I am going to put it in a gigantic black iced tea, and I'm about to rule the world. Like, I'm going to have a gigantic.
You're about to be extra hydrated.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Look, one of the things that I struggle with is drinking enough water. And when it is tasty, I drink more water. I feel like that is science.
True fact.
Right?
Yeah.
Forget all of the electrolytes. I was sweating hard this morning. I finished my training and I was like, you know what I need to do right now? Lemonade.
Lemonade.
It's so
is
good.
so good. We're so excited.
Check it out. I hope it's not one of those just temporary things.
No, my guess is it's not.
If you want to find out how amazing Lemonade Element is, you can go order through our link and get a free sample pack with Element's flavors. And of course, you want to party in your mouth, drink the sparkling Element.
Yes, it's so good too.
Our link is drinkelement.com/TRS. And once you're there, do yourself a favor.
Had a
lemonade.
box of
and I haven't even hot
lemonade
lemonade
salts.
yet, but I'm going to hot lemonade
Oh,
too.
it's going to be amazing.
It's awesome.
So
Absolutely.
this is like the night before, and then the next day you have the finals.
Next
Just
day we have the
I
finals.
just need to understand the
Yeah,
timing
yeah.
from like an athletic recovery standpoint.
Exactly.
okay.
Next day we had the finals, and I mean, at that point, I have a little sit down with my coach. Like, we've gone 48.8, 48.9, 49.0, or 49.1. I can't remember the tenths on that one for those 3 swims. And for those 3 swims, I mean, I had put what I felt like was 100% effort into it. You know, I was racing Michael Phelps. I was trying to beat Michael Phelps. I was racing for a final spot in the Olympic trials. I'm going to give 100% effort. I was racing for that final spot again. I'm going to give 100% effort. And the next night we worked together and we kind of work on my stroke. And basically it was just kind of working on a little bit of length and strength in that first 50.
Still making technical changes and thinking about, but
tiniest
coaching.
bit. I would say, you know, when people ask me about it, yes, certainly, but it really is just like cue words in my brain.
Because one of the things that we try to say is, hey, athletes don't need the rah-rah, that when it's a really big moment, we just try to make the moment as small as we can. This cue, this idea, this field, this is the thing to focus on.
So he gave me something tangible to work
Love
on.
it.
It was just length and strength.
That's
That
good
first
coach.
50, come back the same way you came back. I dropped a half second when a 48.4 got
Whoa.
4th. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, got 4th.
Yeah.
So you got into it like not making it.
Yeah.
You have to do the swim off, and then you get 4th. And 4th was enough to qualify.
Exactly.
And was 4th the last position to qualify?
6th ended up
Top 6 qualified.
Top 6 qualified. 4th automatically qualified me. There's like all sorts of rules about roster limits and how they go in like a round robin circle, like to take the next people. But yes, it was
You're going to the Olympics.
going to the Olympics.
And tell us what that, I mean, like you touch, you look up, you realize, like, what's that? I mean, can you recreate that
Yeah,
experience?
You drop a half second.
A half second. And I actually, I look back on little inflection points in my career and little like moments that maybe like alter the trajectory of it. And that was definitely one of them. And the reason is because I just did 3 swims that I thought were 100% of my effort. And the 4th one dropped a half a second.
The brain.
Right, you had more.
Think
You had
about
more.
those swims.
Exactly.
How far, when you dropped a half second, how far was that a personal best?
Yeah. By that half second.
By a half second.
Yeah.
So you swim a personal best at trials. This is why we think the brain is the limiting factor.
100%. Yes.
Incredible.
I subscribe to that just like over and over and over. Yeah. And that, so yes, that at that point I was a shy kid still a little bit. And like, I think it was funny because like, I think I gave like just the slightest of fist pumps. And my coaches were like, yeah, showing some emotion.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I couldn't even help it. But
Technical question. How many more events do you have at this meet?
at that point, I had the 50, which I wish I could remember exactly. The event order keeps changing. It was probably 3 or 4 days later for prelims of the 50.
Do you carry massive confidence into that 50, or did you spend your spend and now you're like, this is because oftentimes we see that kids peak and that was it. Or they're like, I'm untouchable right now and I'm riding this wave.
That's a great question. I felt like I had an awesome opportunity to go a best time, like to see what I can do.
There's no pressure anymore. You're going to the Olympics.
Exactly. No pressure anymore. We're going to the Olympics. There's a world where maybe I made the Olympics in 2008 in the 50, but like the 100 was always my main event, my focus, and the 50 was going to come with a little bit more growth.
You needed to grow
strength.
up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're a child still.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very freeing moment, and definitely a lot of athletes talk about this, but like in your Olympics, for the most part, the most stressful race is that first Olympic trials final to make the Olympics.
Your whole career is on the line right now, basically.
Exactly.
Funding, national team,
Everything.
and you've just taken a year off from college.
Yeah.
No pressure,
Right.
but you
You've
better
gone
get
all
this
in.
done. Yeah.
So talking a little bit about this sort of the mental piece of it, which I think we all agree, especially now that we're older, is it. It's like the thing.
Yeah.
What did you employ any specific strategies to sort of deal with that? Like, were you visualizer? Did you self-talk? You see a lot of the.
Are you just a sociopath?
Yeah. I mean, did you have any specific strategies that you were using that were effective for you to sort of deal with those moments of immense pressure?
And I'm just set this up because I had the pleasure of watching Julia. I met Julia at a world championship in a week-long mini events, and I got to see J-Star deal with pressure, show up, click on. So it's one of the things that I loved about her was like she was so competent at handling this big stress.
Yeah. So I did develop my own little routine. And that is one of the things that I think I maybe, if I could go back, I would just use some time to get to know myself better and get, because I found what
Hard
worked
to do
for
that
me.
at 19 or 20, isn't it?
It is
though?
hard. It is hard to do that.
Yeah, youth is wasted on the youth.
And I found what worked for me, and it was really just like it was just this overall state of being that like just indicated readiness on so many different levels. And when I got out of it, it was just finding a way to bring myself back to the present. And, for me, it was just like looking at shapes and describing them and telling myself what color they were. And then like, I was one of those people who would visualize, but like my like, I'm going to have to defer to you all on this, but I could feel the race like happening more so than like hear the water or like see the race happening from a third person view or even see it from a first person view. I would kind of feel what a really good first 50 that was very fast but using minimal energy would feel like, and then feel like what it feels like to experience, fatigue in the second 50, but in a good way where you don't just totally shut down. And I would bring myself to that place. And I don't remember where it was. Oh, well, NCAAs is probably one of the most emotionally taxing places ever. So you have to like use it sparingly, right? It's like salt. Too much of it is just like too much, and it just absolutely would exhaust me. So Olympic trials, because we had so much time in between, like I could recover, spend time away from the pool or go do whatever.
People don't realize how intense NCAAs are.
And how absolutely grueling it is, because at this point it's 3.5 days and you're just on all the entire time.
I recently just saw Usain Bolt talking about in college, we're seeing a lot of college sprinters do too many events and peak too often and have too many races.
Oh, interesting.
And he says he thought that a lot of the best athletes didn't do that. They reserved that. Do you feel like, and this is, an out there question, are we swimming, our best swimmers in NCAA swimming too much? Are we asking too much of our athletes? Could we be fresher? Because it's really an interesting piece.
Swimming is unique. I mean, the amount of events that a swimmer is expected to swim is a lot.
Or is it just not the same level of intensity as a 100-meter final because the loading is different on the body.
Oof, I wish I had answers for that. I think every individual is going to be different. I was able to get up for the races. I enjoyed it. It's what you
enjoyed it. You liked racing.
It gave me. Oh, I loved it. I still love it. I love competing. It gave me energy to be able to like invest into it, like trial it, see if it worked, see if it didn't, and then kind of reformulate and just do it. It is fun. It's just like solving riddles.
An experiment. We make a hypothesis. We test our hypothesis
constantly, over and over.
We
and over.
definitely see that kids who are successful, and I say kids because everyone's a kid to me now, they like to compete. And they might not enjoy the process beforehand, but in the moment, they really enjoy, they love it. You know, even our world champion friends are like, at the starting line, they're like, well, I feel sick. Why am I here? I'm just anxious. But then gun goes off and they're like, oh, it's fucking on.
So that's like maybe a question I have for you all as like coaches and the experience that you have, because I think there's a level of like, that's my natural tendency, but I think today's world coaches have figured out how to get people who aren't naturally like that and get them to perform at a highest level. They just have to like approach it from different angles. Is that correct? Do you find the same thing, or? Well,
I think what I'll say is that I think it's complicated, that a lot of the reasons that people compete are complicated now. Yes. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of expectation, parents. So I'm not sure that always that young athletes are there for the right reasons. They're there now and they have to do it, but I'm not sure that they would choose this austere life, because it's an extraordinary austere life, but
oh my gosh,
they don't really like to train. Like Juliet and I love to train. We think training is like the simplest, easiest, so fun. It's suffering, but whatever, we're training and we're there with our friends. We just always thought, and we see that a lot of some of the athletes we interact with just don't enjoy that the process of the whole experience.
Totally. I think that's spot on. It's so many, like for now, I mean, there's just particular situations where I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but what I want to say is you can't want it more than your kids.
That's right.
And a lot of times I know the response will be, but they do. And it's like,
do they?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like,
I think you just said it.
Yeah.
It's tough. It is a weird thing. But one of the things I noticed, that was an interesting part of my journey. Shoot, was it 2012 or 2013? It was Tom Shields as a freshman. We were at our winter invite, and I am somebody who operates kind of down here on the readiness scale, and I, to find my peak, I need to get excited. And I just, as any 22-year-old would, assume that everyone was like me. And I was asking Tom, like, hey, Tom, what are you listening to in your headphones? And he was like, Jack Johnson. I was like, it just blew my mind completely. Completely. And then he goes some extraordinary time and does amazing. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? Tom could be so much better if he just listened to like Avicii or like some rap or something, right? But like,
Caroline,
as I got
shout out to my daughter who listens to Little Enya. That's her
perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And that was such an interesting thing for me to discover, that just other athletes operate at a different space and need to bring themselves down to get into that performance zone. I thought that was so cool to see, and for him as a freshman to realize that for himself.
Yeah, that's really cool. So as a Olympics lover and spectator, and we always watch the swimming, one of the most fun things to watch as a swimming spectator and non-swimmers is the relay.
Yeah.
And you have been lucky enough to swim on quite a few relays and been very successful. And the USA obviously has many, like we tend to be very successful in relays. Tell us what it's like to be a swimmer, because, you know, we all, as you know, Kelly and I have been watching all of them forever, and it's so exciting. But what's it like to be?
And we finally got to go to our first in-person Olympics
in
in
terms
Paris.
of all the events you swim. Like, is that one the most fun? Like, what's the relay like?
It is really interesting. And I'll kind of go back. People ask me all the time, what's your, favorite Olympic medal? And I'm like, it's like asking, like, what's your favorite kid? Every one of them
kid, that's fun.
is a different story.
Yeah.
And for example, the 4x100 freestyle relay is a tone setter because it's at the very beginning of the meet, and it's this machismo.
Yes.
Like you got the biggest, strongest guys in there in the ready room.
Right. Like,
it's
from a spectator perspective, it's just like all lats. Like all you see is just like a lot of lats.
lot of lats,
Lots and pecs and lots and pecs.
In the ready room, they like different people will like do. I mean, the psychological component is real. Like I think Team USA is pretty, relaxed and chill. Like other teams will like pretend like they don't speak English and not talk to you and not make eye contact. Other people will quite literally like beat on themselves till their chest is like purple, and they'll like bark. They do this thing, hoo, hoo, and then there was a while where people were doing like a lot of like deep deep breathing techniques because like there were some spear fishermen in the crowd, so like they were doing really, really like dramatic breathing. And it's like, that is a crazy place to be because you're stuck in a room that's this size with everybody.
Yeah.
And, it is. That
is a
so
crazy
cool.
room.
Yes,
all the gladiators,
and the lights are on, and
Yeah.
it's really only made for like individuals, right? But the relay has
Right, they
8
just pack
lanes,
everyone
and it
in there.
has 4 people in each lane, so it's like everyone's packed in. It's starting to get really hot in there.
It's great.
It's gnarly.
I've never heard this before.
so
This is-
gnarly.
We only see, you guys come out, you're announced, you come out
Yeah.
the door, and we see we see as spectators, we see a lot of that, the flexing and the pumping, and
Yes.
we see a lot of that stuff. But like you're packed in this room, like what a wild experience.
It is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And it is like the 4x100 freestyle is like, it's a lot of like, it's very testosterone driven. And, yes. So that is this tone setter. And if we can get it done there, like it really does get some momentum going.
interesting.
It really, like the team is so stoked when
People
you're
are mad
walking
about
back.
that they say that. The way we get, like, is it unspoken, or people are like they know that this makes a difference?
Depends on who the leader is of the team at the time, and maybe what the team needs. If we need a little pick me up, it's like it's awesome. Talked about, and yeah, so that and you can vibe off that, man. You can totally vibe off that when people come back. That positive energy, that just like cool, relaxed energy, that readiness, and it just like it spreads like contagion. But
And you don't have to do it by yourself, right?
you don't have to do it by yourself. Unfortunately, the other side of that can happen too, right? I haven't done it. I haven't had it happen at the Olympics, but it has happened at a World Championships before, where the 4x1 didn't go the way we wanted it to, and it was tough. Like you gotta find a hero. Katie Ledecky, shout out. Thanks, Katie. Like, you can always count on her to have an amazing performance, but then as the team, you got to kind of harness that energy and bring that in, and then try to let that grow. 4x100 medley relay is at the very end, and usually by then you kind of know how, like the stories have mostly been written. Everybody has swam the individual races. In theory, you can just write down what every swimmer has gone from the individual perspective, and then you really have a good idea who's going to win.
Who's going to win, right?
Walking into the 2012 4x100 freestyle, 4x100 medley relay, I won the 100 free. Matt Grievers won the 100 backstroke. Michael won the 100 breaststroke. Brendan got third in the 100 breaststroke. Like, we just had to have safe starts, and we were going to have a really fun time. But on the other side of that, like in 2016, it wasn't so clear. Adam Peaty was really, he was able to really put some time away in that 100 breaststroke on us, and so we were a little bit more nervous.
Petey's one of the swimmers I follow still.
Yeah, totally. I think he's dating like Gordon Ramsay's daughter or something.
Okay, so we have to move on from the Olympics, I think, at some point, but I've got one more question. I think 2012 was your first individual medal.
Yes.
And I love how you've said each one of these medals like is a story. There has to be a story there.
Yeah.
What was that like? Tell us a little bit of that.
So that story,
Do you think people, let me just interrupt. Do you think people back home know the difference between a gold medal in a relay or a gold medal in an individual, or you have a gold medal?
that's a good question. I don't know.
Because people have a romanticized idea of what the Olympics is and what
That's
the
a good
experience
point.
is.
That's a good
They
point.
have no idea, like, what the Olympic experience is for the typical athlete. They just
Right.
see this shiny moment, and then
That's
you
a-
come
that's a good
home,
point.
and then you're like,
You can be an Olympic gold medalist. So actually in 2008, I watched so I didn't go fast enough in prelims to be on finals. So I watched that finals happen from like the nosebleeds of the Beijing water cube. Like we were so high that you could look across the pool and you could see like smog. And I watched Jason Lezak run down Elaine Bernard, touch him out by the tiniest of bits. And then they got to stand up on the podium, hands on their hearts, and belt out the national anthem. And someone from the IOC got to put a medal around their neck. And they were Olympic gold medalists. And I received mine at a poorly attended team meeting in a vacuum sealed bag. But I was an Olympic medalist too.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments for me that I was like, man, this is cool, but I want to be on that podium. And then 2012 comes along, and a lot of things had to go right for 2012, for my 2012 experience to happen. And one of them was James Magnuson going so fast in March of 2012 that the world just was ready to give him the gold medal. He went a 47.1. Wow. Yeah. And that is, I mean, I remember walking in to, and this is another one of those awesome moments that I was fortunate to have great coaches. I walked into morning practice that morning, Dave Durden drinking his coffee. I was like, hey, you see Olympic or Aussie trials last night? And he's like, yeah. So you see how fast James went? Yeah. Like, what should we do? He's like, get in and warm up.
Just like,
and
keep doing the work.
God, it's just literally everything about the way that interaction happened, not just the words, body language, inflection, like just everything. Even probably the practice was just like so perfect to get me out of this like, oh no, like James has gone so fast. How am I going to drop a full second in my 100 freestyle to like, oh, that's right. This guy's got a plan. I trust this guy.
That's cool.
Like we're going to do this.
What a relationship and trust. I just love that trust piece.
It was amazing. I was so blessed. Yeah. And then another quick short story. Sorry, there's so much that goes into this. But 2012 Olympic trials happens. I make the team in my first individual race. We're at a press conference, and American press is so kind. Congratulations. What does this mean for you? What does this mean for your coach? What does this mean for your family? This is the lifetime of hard work. Wow, we're so excited for you to represent Team USA. And then, okay, last question, the moderator says, and then hands the mic to a person in the very back row. I remember seeing it. And goes, oi, mate, James Magnuson is a full second faster than you, eh? How you going to make that up? And I go, I'm so excited to be part of Team USA. Thank you, everybody. And I just stand up and get out of there. But for me, I had one question. That was it. James had that from March until August.
No pressure,
of
James.
2020. Exactly.
Oh my
of
gosh.
2012. Right. Everywhere he went. And the Aussie press is absolutely brutal. And I was so fortunate.
They love swimmers.
They love swimmers. So I just had really just
right. You
I
could
was
just
free.
be behind the scenes and do
I
your
was
work.
free.
Oh,
I was
so
able to do my
insightful.
thing.
And that's really gracious of you to recognize now in retrospect the amount of pressure
Oh my gosh.
that he had. And, what did he swim in the Olympics? Do you remember?
What was the actual race like?
Well, so the race was insanely close. I think we had We dove in. I do think I was out a tiny bit faster than him, but I think I was out like second or third in the heat. Brent Hayden and Caesar both went out faster than me. We turn. He makes his move. We both pass Brent and Caesar, and he's ahead of me until about 80 or 85 meters. And then I take my last breath. I do my straight arm, and I end up beating James by 1/100th of a second.
And what was the time?
It was 40. I think I was 47:52, and I think he was 47:53.
Oh my God. No, was that your personal best?
That was the best of all time for me.
Best of all time.
That was
Amazing.
my PR.
If you're
All
good
time.
at PR,
Lifelong PR.
an Olympic
PR.
final
Olympic
is a
final.
good moment to PR. That's
It was a
pretty
good moment.
amazing.
It
I
was a
don't,
good moment.
I don't even know how you land that plane. Like if you were like, we're going to just set up this moment and we'll just have to do these steps. That's a miracle. It happens. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
Do you remember that feeling of like, I've got this. I'm just going to look. Do you remember what
Or
was
did you
going on
not
in your
really
head?
know till you like looked up at the board?
There was a lot leading up to that too, because I had gone head to head with him at the beginning of the 4x100 freestyle relay, and I touched him out by a tiny little bit. And we had gone 47 highs. And then in semifinals, he dropped a 47 mid, and I went a 47 high again. So he was in lane 4, I was in lane 5, and he had a faster seed than me. And it was just like walking into that one, it was so free. Like it was like, hey, I feel good. I'm in a good place physiologically. Like I have had I was a big bodywork guy. I needed ART, I needed needles, I needed chiropractic, everything like make my shoulders feel good.
Thank you, Dare Torres.
Yeah, exactly. And I was feeling good, and I wanted to see what I could do.
How fun.
Yeah, it really was a great, obviously with hindsight as a bias, it was everything went right for that Olympics for me.
That's incredible.
And then you did get to have that moment where you were on the podium
I
getting the
did.
medal. And what was that like?
I mean, that was so surreal. And I knew the moment would like slip through your fingers and just go way faster than you ever want that moment to go. But I remember looking again, just kind of looking to my left, looking to my right, spotting people in the crowd that, meant a lot to me. I was also able to give my mom the flowers. I think
that's so good.
Yeah, it was really, that meant a lot to me too, because they just found her, let her come down to the first row, and was able to do that. And just kind of tried to soak that moment in as much as we could, and then ride it again. It's like, we just like, that was one of those Olympics, that one and 2016, honestly, so many things went right for us that it was just like, okay, you get back to the team room. Sweet. I got mine. Who's next? And the next people were just like ready to go. It was so cool.
Do you come out of that Olympics fired up to train? Do you come out and you're like, whew, I got to do it again for another cycle? Or does that feed enough that you're like, okay, this is worth it. I know I have a plan. I can make this happen.
I was at a point in my life that I was fired up. I think Dave had.
It is a long stretch.
It is a long
4
stretch.
years is a long time.
It is a long stretch, and there was like the built-in break, but it's like only 1 or 2 weeks. But I still got in. I wasn't training. I was just getting in. To
Need a touch.
Yeah, exactly. But I was ready to go. I mean, at that point, it was just on to the 2013 World Championships. Like here, that's what we're here, and that's what we're training for.
Let me ask you this. You have 3 daughters, or you're going to have 3 daughters.
Yes.
Would you let them follow this Olympic dream?
Oh my gosh.
So we ask
We do not have.
we have a
enough.
lot of professional athletes. We ask this question.
He's like, his kids are so little.
Would you want this for your kids?
Man, that is such a loaded question. I feel so blessed to experience what I experienced 100%. If they could have my experience, like, yes, hands down.
You think of your experience.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I don't know if I should say this. Going into that world, into that singular focus world is almost like Harry Potter and like playing with dark magic. It's like so powerful in terms of getting your body to do these extraordinary, amazing things that nobody thinks or thought is possible. But there is a price to pay. And like, I am so, I get emotional thinking about it. I'm so grateful for having so many like supportive people around me to like allow me to go there, but then like come out of it, because like not everybody comes out of it.
Not everyone comes out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Olympic friends and a lot of professional athlete friends. When they retire, we have not set them up to reintegrate in society. Whether you're a combat athlete or war fighter, you like the reintegration is, now I'm immortal. How do I do that?
It's so hard. It's so hard, and you have to be so purposeful. And like, you think like everything you did in your career, like, oh, I can like solve all these things, but like it's like it was adaptive for your career, but it's just like not always adaptive for real life.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that I even think about like is like in swimming, like when you experience like a threat or some sort of like response that like activates that parasympathetic or sympathetic response, like it just, that's energy. Sweet, I have energy now, and now I'm gonna go like exert it to the extent that I can and take advantage of it. But like in the real world, it's like I'm experiencing this like sympathetic response. Now how do I activate like my thinking part of my brain? So like I spent 15 years like shutting that part off and being like, fight or flight, let's go, perform, lift that, like be the mother whose child is like in danger and lifting that car kind of thing, and harness that. But now it's like switching that around and being like, no, turn that off. Figure out how to activate your thinking part of your brain. And it's a fun challenge, but
you're
like,
you're
it's
like
just
a
not something I was
superhero.
prepared
You
for.
are Mr. Incredible now working at the insurance company.
Exactly.
I want to.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of things
exactly.
that we're going to go, but I want to just point out that you run a incredible swim program locally. How radical an experience do you think the kids have knowing how protective you are? I mean, I just feel like parents don't understand that the experience you and your partner create there, who also is a savage swimmer, you guys have created a world that is Harry Potter for the athletes who come. Young kids are swimming, getting better. And I have to believe that part of that Olympic experience is that you understand how much culture matters and how much coaching matters and how much community matters, because that's ultimately the thing, not the outcome.
I think you really have to like define your purpose, like just be able to come back to it over and over and over again. It's just easy to get lost in that when like performance becomes this part of it. And like our core, so we have two different like aspects of our business, and one is like the Learn to Swim program. The other is like the youth sports, like the USA Swimming portion. And USA Swimming portion is like our core values are team growth and fun. We didn't mention the Olympics there, right? We didn't mention performance.
Team growth, fun, and winning.
We didn't say, hey, you're like a failure if you don't get a spot on a D1 team, right? But like, it's hard because people still feel that way because they're getting it from all these external sources. And it's like, when I look around at the people who got the most from their careers, it wasn't the awards. It was like the people that knew that the community aspect is so huge, the connection, and like the ability to believe in yourself, to go do things that you don't think you're capable of, and then to like improve and improve and improve and improve and improve, and then all of a sudden one day look back and be like, holy shit. Like I never thought that would have been possible. What else? What other aspects of my life can I do that?
We don't do a good job of connecting the dots. Juliet, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but Juliet has gone to universities and spoken to the women athletes there about being entrepreneurs or taking the next step. And a lot of the women don't realize all of the skills that they're practicing and all of the teamwork and all of the effort and all the delayed gratification. And Juliet's like, you are actually the greatest in the greatest position to go and be a professional person and utilize all these skills we've been practicing, but we're just not meta enough. We don't call it out enough. Do you think that that's true?
100%.
We don't connect the dots for our athletes enough?
100%.
And I mean athletes, I mean like high school athlete, middle school athlete.
totally.
At any level.
Totally.
At any level.
I absolutely believe in that. And that, like, I look back and in my own little world, when I was talking about being so one-dimensional, I want to think that I would listen to somebody giving me this advice or these directions, but I'm not totally sure I would.
Maybe it would have come from the coach and be part of the culture.
I think it would have to be part of the culture and just be pointed out. I mean, just so many, like, I was so objective as a younger athlete, but like the idea of like vibes or energy, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I feel it. Would I have when I was younger? Would I have like understood it? I think maybe if someone was pointing it out, it would be a long, slow road to that. But like, hey, did you feel how the energy changed when that person shut someone else down and you know, didn't respond in a positive way to something that they said, right? It takes a lot, and it's a lot to ask of these coaches, and good coaches aren't paid enough.
Nope.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a lot to
Okay,
ask.
so
We're asking them to do all of
You're
these
asking
things.
them to do like
Crazy.
PhD level
No,
stuff
it's-
here.
It's
like-
too much. So we have a ton of questions about your startup, which, by the way, I love that you call it a startup, because everyone thinks it's just for tech companies, but it's not. But I can't let this podcast go by without at least bringing up that you were diagnosed with cancer in 2019, which I have to imagine, having received a cancer diagnosis myself. But also, you know, here you've decided to retire from swimming. You know, you're Mr. Incredible, as Kelly said. Already the transition out of professional sport is difficult for anybody. And then on top of that, you kind of get like cut down physically with a cancer diagnosis. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? And I know you've gone on to continue to compete in many ways since then and still do today. But what was that experience like for you, and how did it change your perspective on all things?
Oh man. Yeah, that was that. When you talk about inflection points, like up to that point, I was so incredibly singularly focused on swimming fast, winning medals, like for myself, for my family, for Team USA. And it was easy and it was enjoyable. Like, it was awesome. Like, you talk about loving the grind. Like, man, I loved the grind. Like, waking up at 5:15 and going to practice was like not an issue. I was excited to go see the people there, put in the work, get it done.
Oh, it's good to hear.
And like, when you do receive a cancer diagnosis, and one of the things that people would always tell me were like, wow, the sacrifices you made are so incredible. And in my mind, I was like, what sacrifices?
Yeah, right.
Like, this is worth it.
I'm living my best life.
I'm living my best life.
Right.
Friday night, like happy hours, like, I'm glad I don't have an excuse to go to those things. Like, I don't want to feel like crap on Saturday morning, right? And then you get a cancer diagnosis. And fortunately, it was early. Fortunately, it's a treatable cancer. And the thoughts of like, truly the thoughts of, was it worth it, pop up into your head. Like, because you have this like plan, the plan, right?
Yeah, right.
Why even try? No, you do have a plan, and my plan was to swim through 2020, reassess whether we were going to continue to compete, but I wanted to start a family with my wife, and be present, and like the way that I had figured out how to train and compete isn't super conducive for that. I mean, I was spending a lot of time on the road competing, or spending a lot of time on the road at training camps. And so that, like, your entire existence is called into question. And if I think everybody experiences this at some point, but just most people don't experience it at 30. Like, did I live my life the way I wanted to? And like, I don't have a good answer for you because it depends on how long I could live, right? And I didn't internalize that at 30 years old. And now, I mean, I have to spend a lot of time unwinding that in my own brain as we talk about like having kids, having a family, being a parent, and having a startup. Like, because it's easy and natural for my mind to immerse myself completely in one thing or the other and not find a balance. So yeah, the cancer diagnosis, it was a gift and a curse, certainly, as it was so treatable. I'm doing well now. I have no ongoing evidence of disease, which is great. And yeah, it forces you to really put some perspective into things and think about uncomfortable questions that you just really aren't normally forced to think about at that age.
There's a lot of intersectionality in that moment of the end of your career. What are we doing with my family? How do I, like, is this sustainable with my relationships to be a swimming maniac?
Yes.
Do you think, yes or no, and I know it's loaded, were you better prepared to manage this trauma and head-on disease because you were an athlete, or were you worse prepared?
100%. 100% better prepared. 100%.
Not just physically, but do you feel like you just, because, you know, I watched Juliet, you know, manage this, and I was just like, oh, look at the training kick in.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to solve this problem.
Exactly.
This isn't my identity. You know, I have a support network because that's what's required. I just saw her handle this with such grace and determination and grit.
Totally. It was that. And it was breaking it down to its component parts, managing what you can manage, making the best decisions based off of the information that you have, and then being okay with that. So many people want to have that conversation about, you know, your treatment and then outcome, and like, only if only I knew. It's like, given current technology, we don't know. So you got to forgive yourself if you made a treatment decision that wasn't the right one, right? And for testicular cancer, it's like you get rid of the tumor. So they remove your testicle completely. They test it, they give you the pathology, and then based off of that, there's a range of outcomes, right? And you can choose to either do active surveillance, you do adjuvant chemo, or you do a surgical option. And each of those has a probabilistic outcome based off of, you know, where you're at and your KPIs in terms of how far what your scans are showing and whether there was LVI, lymphovascular invasion. And you have to make that choice and you have to go with it. Swimming prepared me for that, like, over and over and over, right? Yeah. You cannot control what your opponents are doing in their lanes, right? The whole stay in your lane thing, like that's swimming. And being able to make that decision, go forward with it, and manage if it wasn't the correct decision after time is like what it prepared me for.
Yeah. And for me, you know, one of the best lessons from sport is control what you can control. Yes. And that has so many applications in life, in business, and cancer diagnosis. Is control what you can control.
I don't think people have experienced a lot of failure. Like, you know,
yes.
I mean,
oh my gosh.
The number of times you lost, got beat, had a terrible practice, went slower, tried a hypothesis, like, it's repeated exposure to gnarly failure over and over, and controlled small petite death, right? Yes. So that you're comfortable with the fact that, you know, that you are going to have to make a decision and you will come through it because you've always come through it. I mean, I think, you know, watching Juliet, who is a catastrophizer, you know, and but also, like, you are very resilient because, you know, bad shit happens, and then you're like, and then we will persist.
I am so grateful you brought that up. The failure thing is so real. It's so real. Again, and social media makes it even crazier because all you see is people's successes.
Yeah.
All you see is, success, success, success. Some people are good at it, like maybe bringing it up 1 out of every 50 posts. Like, hey, I woke up not feeling great today and it was hard. It's like, Well, that happens more than 1 out of 50 days, like for most people at least.
True fact. So let's go back to your startup.
Okay.
And I just emphasize, I love that you call it a startup because I think everybody thinks a startup can only be like a technology company or something, but you're running a swim program, a learn to swim program, and like a legitimate swim club. And I guess what has surprised you about being an entrepreneur and running a startup? And
doing that in the pandemic.
yeah, and you started in the pandemic too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Seriously. Man, what has surprised me? I do think one of the things that happens in an athlete's career is you end up developing that halo effect, probably to a fault. It's just like, I am good at swimming. I have figured this out. I can figure other things out too. When in reality, that is likely a reality, but like, why not ask someone else for help? Right? Like, there are so many amazing people, whether it be in the athlete network and the Cal network and just like whatever network that you have in your life, that are willing to help and have probably solved the same problem that you have like been racking your brain over and over and over and over about. And like, I don't know, in swimming, like, or in athletics, like you're kind of taught to be just this like resilient person. Like we wear our mirrored goggles so people can't see our pupils. Like it's kind of this intimidation thing. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. And I don't know if I could take that. I don't know if I could take that lesson that I learned now and bring it back into my swimming. I don't know if it would work, but that's definitely part of it. And the startup thing is so real. I mean, it's just like you go literally from like pooper scooper. I mean, I like there's accidents and then I clean them, right? To like, oh my gosh, I have to like, we're having like, it's our insurance renewals. We got to deal with this. And then there's like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then like,
Wasn't it simple to be an athlete?
oh my gosh.
The simplest life
So
ever.
simple. And then to get yourself out of that grind is adding on an entire another job, because the job of running the swim team, learn to swim program is a job in itself. And then creating the systems and the feedback mechanisms to train other people to do it the way that you want it done is an entire extra job and takes a lot of thought. So, it is, I'm so grateful for it. I mean, again, like coming out of an athletic career, you need something. Like I'm just going to be like a hamster in a cage without a wheel, without something to work on. And the swim thing has been helpful just from like an emotional, like health perspective.
And what are you seeing in the youth athletes you're working with today that is different from when you were a youth athlete?
Or is it different?
Or is it different? Or is it the same sets of problems, just a different era? Or are there unique current sets of problems you're seeing in the athletes today?
I think that they're
Boomer parents versus Gen X parents, right?
I think that that's definitely a factor. I do think that Washington had a certain level of grit. Washington State growing up, like
You went to Tacoma, bro.
Yeah.
I grew up in Bremerton and I went to Tacoma. There's some grit to be had between those two cities. That is for sure. But like resilience in terms of like grit and emotion, like it was rainy. I think we went 45 days without seeing the sun my senior year, like literally without seeing a blue sky. Sorry, not the sun, the blue sky. It was gray that many days out of the year. That many days straight. It would get dark at like 4:45 p.m. And now I'm like, I mean, I think I'm just a wimp, honestly, now. But if I don't see the sun for a while, I'm
soft,
like, I'm
yeah.
sad.
You've gotten
I need a blue
NorCal
light. Someone help. But coaches had maybe more tools at their perspective. Some would abuse them. So rules have been put into place to take those abusive tools away. But with all things, there's consequences with that. And
If you could talk to all parents right now of young athletes, and obviously we're the same. We have our children are the chosen ones. What would you say to parents right now, knowing you've got this perspective, you are in youth athletic development? Like, this is your moment to grab a microphone and say, parents, I need you to do this.
So the way that I do it is this, and that, like, when parents ask like what their role is, my simplified explanation is that, like, their passion is a flame, and your job is to do whatever needs to happen in that moment to let that flame grow. And if it's like fanning the flame just a little bit, you need to do that. If it's putting a log on the flame and then like knowing that it's going to grow, you need to do that. But like in different moments, it will likely be different things. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of complexity onto that because my brain shuts off when I like watch Parker even take a swim lesson. What is crazy, I helped develop this curriculum. I trained the instructor on how to teach, and I watch these people teach every single day. And still I'm like, but what's happening? Like, why is she not doing? Like, I literally had to step back and be like, I have answers to all of these questions, but like I hit this little panic mode as I'm watching my own daughter go through it. So
Let me give you some advice as a father.
Please.
Sit on the other side of the pool away from the other parents.
I like that.
That's what Kelly does.
I like that a lot.
Just that way I can be inside my own insanity.
Yeah.
And I can shut up and I don't get sucked into drama, and I can cheer for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's real hard.
It is so hard. I think giving yourself a break as a parent and knowing that no one is perfect and you're likely going to make a mistake and it's going to be okay is probably the best advice. But the definitely treating that passion as a flame and knowing that the wrong situations can snuff it out.
So I think you've heard this data, and know that something like 70% of kids are dropping out of youth sports by like age 13. And I'm sure this weighs heavily on you because you're running a youth sports program. But what do you think, not just you and your program, but parents and all of us involved in this sort of youth sports situation can do to help encourage kids to stay in sports for longer? And I think, there's a variety of reasons why kids drop out.
And swimming's unusual because you can swim your whole life.
Yeah, but how do we keep kids in swimming or whatever sport it is longer? And I think the reason we all know it's important is that, we know if kids learn how to move and love movement when they're young, then that will lead to them, being healthier and loving to move and keeping moving as adults. I mean, for no other reason than just that. What are your thoughts on all that?
Oof. I think you really have to, again, identify the purpose of sports in this young person's life and know that it's likely not going to be making a living. Like, it's going to be learning these amazing lessons that sports has to offer, or, being involved in this community that they otherwise wouldn't be able to be involved in, or developing social skills outside of classrooms where they're forced to sit for 6 hours. Like, right. I think that and then trying to give positive feedback to those aspects, whether it be even to the coach, to the administrators of the team, would be nice.
Yeah. Word.
And then to
little attitude of gratitude, everybody.
To the kids, just being like, man, that was so cool how you handled that situation. Like, I know that was really hard to, shake their hand when they won, or make eye contact with them when they won, and it was a silly mistake and you felt bad about it. But like, that is what sports is about. And knowing that and having that kind of be your grounding for what this is. Oh my gosh, there's so many factors that makes it hard. And where we live too, like, we live here because it's awesome. The weather's nice all the time. Like, I don't know.
Are you saying that I need to take my children to a dark place?
I don't know, but certainly allow coaches to take them for that ride a little bit. I mean, you have to know what overtraining is to be able to prevent it, right? like let the coaches do their job and let the kids learn those lessons.
Yeah, be a better ally to coaches for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things we're really interested in writing a book about it is trying to help parents navigate this whole youth sports universe. Because we're pro coach. Like, we come from a coaching world, and we see that there's so much pressure put on youth coaches to be all things.
Oh my God.
When really, I think what we can expect is for our youth coaches to be good at coaching their sport, and that the other aspects of the youth sport experience need to come from elsewhere. Or it's a group collective thing. Like our youth coaches can't be expected to be the best swim coaches, nutrition coaches, mental health coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, right? We can't expect that. And so how do we create that, scaffolding for youth athletes without expecting
Especially
all
since
of it to come from the youth sports coach?
Oh
And our
my gosh.
hypothesis is that sports is one of the last frameworks when you teach people how to be humans. Right, how to interact, how to be teammate, how to work hard, how to sleep, how to prepare yourself for a big moment over and over and over again. I mean, you get to compete potentially 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think in the increase, like, it's like the world is going down these two paths. One is like AI, and the other one is like humans, interaction, knowing how to be social. And like, that's one of the things that is in my mind a lot when I think about my own kids and how to give them those experiences and teach them how to just navigate the world from a social perspective, because connection is again, you talk to a guy who gets diagnosed with cancer at 30, and you think about the connections you had, the people that supported you a million times more often than you think about the medals in your closet.
yeah, that's right.
But then, I love that. I love that, thinking about like letting coaches be coaches and then have other people help those other aspects. And I think like the education piece to coaches in how to, because generally speaking, coaches are like such great people, right? And a lot of times they're kind of like people pleasers, where like when they have this meeting in front of and good on the coaches that choose to do this and communicate, they have a town hall meeting and people are, what about nutrition? What about this? What about this? I see this team doing this on their Instagram. And it is, again, they're like, oh, I should be providing this service. So like giving the coaches the ability and like tools how to say like, that's not my role at this time. Like, but we can, find a way to get that for the team.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's a lot. Okay, so a couple of local swimmers asked me to ask you a couple questions, which
okay.
I can't end this without asking you. What advice would you give to high school swimmers hoping to swim in college?
Oh man.
Choose better parents.
I think that it would be important for a swimmer to put themselves in a college coach's shoes, or do their best to put themselves in a college coach's shoes when they ask someone this question. And I say that because I can give you the answer, but it only helps if you believe it. And like times and grades and test scores are obviously the 3 most important parts of this equation, like by far. And you should be trying your hardest to have, top-notch scores in each of those. But the intangibles can make a big difference too. And like how you present yourself, those social skills, that leadership aspect. People would always say, like, talking about the ready room, it's like races weren't won in the ready room, but they were lost in the ready room. I would argue that spots on college teams aren't won when there's conversations with their coaches about character, but they can be lost when there are conversations about an athlete's character. So be a good human. Be a good human. Care about your teammates. Ask them. And if you don't know how to do that, that's okay. Know that you can, this is a skill like anything else that is developable. But starting by genuinely caring how they're doing and asking how that set went or how they are doing outside of the pool is a great place to start.
I love
I
it.
love that. I love that. Oh, okay. So one last question. I know you're still competing yourself in different ways. What are you doing? What are you training for?
Right now, I'm literally just I went to San Diego for niece's birthday and came back. And after a plane flight and a long week of eating too much junk food, I was 245 pounds, which is an all-time high. So right now I'm
And you're 6'6".
I'm 6'6", so I'm working on losing that weight a little bit. It's an interesting challenge because like I have fat.
Nathan Adrian, mortal.
Yeah, when I swim, I only have so much willpower, and when I swim, like and just like deplete my glycogen, I don't have the willpower to say no to food. It's just like that innate drive is too powerful. So I have to like find different ways to like make this happen. And it's fun. Also, the third girl is due in June. So I'm banking as much sleep and exercise as I can right now because I know that it's just going to take a backseat for a little while. So I don't have anything that I'm necessarily training for or competing, but just trying to prepare myself for the first 6 months of baby number 3 and then hopefully get back into it.
We have a lot of friends who former superstars, top of the game in their sports, Olympic medalists, have a hard time enjoying exercise because they always have this is my time, this is my split. Are you able to swim and enjoy that? Or do you have to just separate that piece of your brain?
Swimming, I have to separate it. Swimming the same way I swam before. I cannot enjoy it. I can't swim. Like if I'm like, how far can I go today? Like I can't. How fast can I go in a 50? I can't. But like all the different components, like playing with a different stroke, working on like a low stroke count. The other thing was learning on like my like body control. Like the one of the biggest aspects in swimming today is these swimmers who are able to like put themselves in these incredible positions throughout their spine with power. And I don't have that. Like I was taught to just like lock my spine and then like do my dolphin kick from my hips down. And like trying to learn that is a challenge. Like I look like a weirdo at the gym, but I'm just like sitting there on a TRX looking in the mirror being like, okay, move that part. And I'm like, ugh. And I can't do it. It's so hard. It takes so much concentration, but like just learning coordination, just so I could try to feel maybe what it feels like a little bit to do what some of those guys are doing is a lot of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's just a way to keep it interesting and sort of take yourself out of like the time mindset, right? You can still swim and focus on something completely different.
Totally.
I love it. All right. So besides the birth of your third daughter, anything else you're looking forward to? That's a big one.
That is a big one. Yeah, it's just life. I think
I mean, you're coming into swim season,
Yeah.
right? You've got another nugget on
I
the
think that's
horizon.
exactly it. The first one was like, oh my gosh, this is all new. This is insane. We need to show. So many people can relate. We need to show her these little cards that are black and white because it's going to help develop her blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. By the third one, you're just like, okay, we just need to keep her alive.
Keep her alive, like go out and do stuff and have fun with have her feel that fun, hearing as much laughter from the other two as she can in her first couple weeks of life before she can laugh, and then make her enjoy it too. And I think like, I don't know, we are like, we're just getting settled and getting slightly better at just all of it as we go. And it just is like, it feels like a good place to be.
I love it. Thank you so much
Nathan
for being
Adrian.
here today. So
Thanks,
fun
man.
to have you.
You guys are amazing. Thank you for all that you do.